Okay, so today I'm going to be making a Mexican meal, like a combo plate you might get at a Mexican restaurant. It's going to be beef enchiladas with black beans and red rice. Okay, so I'm going to start out making the beans, since those need to simmer for a while and they can be cooking while I'm doing the other things. I'm going to start with about a tablespoon of bacon fat, or you could use lard or butter or just oil. And next I'm going to add a quarter cup of diced onions. And then I'll turn on the heat there and stir it around a little bit. And what we want to do here is just melt the fat and cook the onions until they're just translucent. Now here I forgot to record a little bit. So I added in 2 cans of low sodium black beans with undrained, and 1 can of diced green chilies, along with 3/4 cup of low sodium chicken broth and the spices that you can see on the screen there. And of course those are listed in the recipe down below as well. Then we're just going to stir that up good. All right, so here I turned up the heat and I brought it up to a boil. Now I'm just going to stir it again. Then I'm going to turn down the heat to low so it can just simmer for a while. Okay, so the last ingredient for the beans is the fresh cilantro. So I'm going to chop that up here. And I don't bother usually picking the leaves off the stems. I just cut it with stems and all from the top. Seems to work pretty good and nobody complains. Now I'm going to be using this in other parts of the recipe, and as well as garnish and topping at the end, so I'm going to chop up quite a bit of it. Okay, so now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of it, and then I'll stir that in. Then we just let it simmer for a while and watch it and stir it every so often. Okay, so next I'm going to start on the enchiladas, and I'm going to start with the filling for that. That way you can get the enchiladas in the oven, and then I can work on the rice. So we're going to add in the hamburger, and this is, I think, 8812 from Costco. So I'll just break it up here. I got the pan on about medium high right now. I don't want it to burn, of course, but I would like to get a little browning on it. Next I'll add a little salt and pepper. Not a lot, just enough to get a little flavor in there at this point. Okay, so the next thing we need for the filling is diced onion. So I'm going to dice up about half an onion. That should be end up being about 1/2 cup or so. I'm also going to be using onion in the rice, so I will use half for the filling, and then the rest of it I can use for the rice and whatever's left over I'll put in the fridge. And I like to cut off the sprout end, the stem end, and leave on the root end to hold the onion together. And of course peel off the outside. And also when you don't cut the root off, it seems to release less juice and may not cause my eyes to water so badly. Okay, so we'll check on the hamburger, which is starting to cook up somewhere. We can break it up a little more now that it's a little stiffer after it's browned a bit. Okay, and I'll add in the onions. Mix that in there good. Want to get it coated with some of the fat from the hamburger. And again, we're just going to try to cook this down till it's a little softer, a little translucent. Picked out a little sliver of the onion skin there. Okay, now I'm adding the garlic, about 2 teaspoons or about 2 cloves worth of minced garlic. And I like to use the pre-minced stuff. It's always good to use the fresh, but there is about a half teaspoon of ground cumin. And about a half teaspoon of salt. And a half teaspoon of coarse ground pepper. Mix that all in well. Okay, then we'll stir our beans a little bit, see how they're doing. So at this point, it's pretty much ready to go here, and I'm going to add some of the enchilada sauce. And I decided I should probably dump it into a measuring cup and pour it in that way. Well, I stir this in here, and then I decide that's probably not enough. That was about half a cup. So I'm going to add some more. I stir that in, then that looks it's a little better, I think. A little more what we're looking for. Now that's a little too thin there, so what we're going to have to do is turn the heat down and just let it simmer for a while till it's the right thickness. Okay, so actually I turned up the heat and to boil off the the water. So you want to make sure you're stirring it when you do that. So don't let it burn down or anything. Okay, so the hamburger's doing good, so I'll just stir the beans a little bit. Make sure they're not sticking down either, and that's cooking just fine. Okay, so here I was supposed to record measuring out a cup of rice and rinsing it, but instead I got this. But anyway, that's a cup of long grain white rice, basmati rice, in fact, and I've well rinsed and is now just sitting waiting to be used. Okay, so now the filling is starting to look pretty good. It's thickened up quite a bit, and we really don't want a lot of juice that will seep out while they're baking. I like it all just to stay in there. One thing I noticed though is that there is a little more grease on the top. They're collecting on the top than I would like. So I'm going to grab a napkin or a paper towel here and just dab some of that fat off the top of there. You could drain the hamburger after you brown it with the onions in there if you have too much oil, but I thought it was looking pretty good, but a little bit much here. Okay, so that's looking pretty good now. So we'll just set that aside so we let it cool until we start making our enchiladas. Next, we're going to prep our tortillas. And what I've got is the supersize corn taco tortillas. And what we want to do here is basically just warm them up and coat them with oil. We don't really want to cook them or crisp them or anything. We want them nice and soft and pliable. So that's just a little olive oil. Then you just want to let it sizzle a little bit there in the oil, get it coated good and warmed up and softened. There, I turned the heat down. I just run it on medium the rest of the time here, since I don't want to overcook them and make them too crisp and they'll break when you're rolling them. You can just stack them on a plate. They don't have to be out individual. You can just stack them right up. Now this time, I was going to try 2 at once. And with the right set of flips, you can get them both coated and heated through. You probably do stacks of 3 or 4 if you're clever with the flips. There's ones for the whole thing, both of them together. So now we got oil on one side of each tortilla. A little more oil. Now I'm going to flip over the top one. Now flip that over to coat it with oil. Then we flip over the other one. And then we'll flip the whole thing over again to coat that side with oil. So now all four sides are coated. And they're done. I just do the rest of them singly. I thought it was a problem to try to keep track of where I was in the flipping process. So this is the last one. I ended up doing, I think, 14. I cooked up 14, which is a little more than I needed. Since these are the king size, they're a little bigger than just the regular corn tortillas. Okay, shut the heat off here. And we can set the tortillas over. Okay, so now we're going to start making the enchiladas. Got my 9 by 13 inch baking pan here. Coat it with a little oil so nothing sticks. Make it easier to clean. And I start out with some enchilada sauce on the bottom here. And then I'm just going to put the tortillas in and get some sauce on them. Put the filling in and roll them up right in the pan so I'm not getting the counter messy or other. I was going to use that other bowl there just to dip them in, but I decided just to do it in the pan. I've seen other people do it this way and it looks good. Less dishes to clean. Forgot to open the cheese. And that's just a Mexican blend. Nice mix of like cheddar and Monterey Jack. And nice melty. Nice, yeah, melts nicely. Now I put the cheese specifically on the bottom so that when you roll them, it turns over and then it's on the top and will melt into the meat filling. I don't know how much difference that makes, but that was my thought anyway. So I'm just going to repeat this, obviously, till I fill up the pan and run out of filling. I have to keep reminding myself for some reason to put the cheese down first. Seems like every one I tried to put the hamburger in first. So I ended up with 9 enchiladas there. I probably could have done one more and stuffed it in that side, but I decided to spread the rest of the filling over the enchiladas. Then I take the rest of the enchilada sauce and just dump it over. Try to get it as evenly spread out as I can. And that is a 28-ounce can. Alright, now I'll just cover the top with the shredded cheese, however much you want here. The recipe calls for a total of 12 ounces. I'm not sure if I used all that or not. Okay, then I'm just going to stick that in a 350 degree oven. Bake it for 20 to 30 minutes. just till it's all bubbly and the cheese is melted. So now that I have the enchiladas in the oven, I'm going to start on the rice, which will take about 20 minutes to cook. So I'm going to slice up a half of this half onion, so a quarter onion here, just in thin little slices like this. I like to do it like this for the rice so you can see it in the rice. Looks kind of cool when it's in there. And then the rest of it, I'm just going to dice up here and then put that in our little bowl that we keep in the fridge. Okay, so I forgot to record again, but what I have here is I put a little olive oil in the pan, in the frying pan, and I added in 1 cup of the long grain basmati rice that I rinsed out earlier. And what we want to do is toast the rice a little bit. Just get it lightly toasted, not a real dark golden brown or anything, but just lightly toasted. So the rice is starting to get a little color on it now. So I want to stir it around again. I don't want it to burn or cook down or anything. Then I'm going to add in the onions, get those started. Again, this is about a quarter of the onion that I thinly sliced. And I'll just break those apart there. Get them all separated. And get it all mixed together. So the rice is pretty much getting there now. Little nice color. It's hard to see in the video, but just stirring it around again. Make sure it's not burning or sticking. Now I'm going to add chicken broth next. Normally I would use my homemade no sodium chicken broth, but today I'm using this chicken broth, which is the better bouillon, low sodium. Just 2 cups of that. So next I'm going to add the tomato sauce, and here I'm using a El Pato hot tomato sauce with jalapenos, and it's about 5 or 6 ounces. That's what the recipe calls for. I debated putting the rest of it in. I probably will next time, but should have a nice little kick with the jalapenos and the tomato sauce, but you could just use regular tomato sauce. Now I'm going to turn the heat up there, because I would need to bring this up to a boil. And I'm going to add in the rest of the seasonings here. So we got about 2 teaspoons of the minced garlic, which is about 2 cloves. Then we got our coarse ground black pepper. I actually put in like half a teaspoon, then I realized that was too much. So I'm going to take out about half of it. Probably would have been fine. Next we'll go in with a half a teaspoon of cumin, ground cumin. Then we just give that a stir and cover it, and we'll let it come up to a boil. So the rice is boiling now. So what we're going to do is turn it down, and I turn it down to low. What we want to do is simmer this for about 18 minutes. We want to not remove the lid the entire time, not till it's done. Nice thing with the glass lid is you can actually see in there and see when it's done. You can actually see when all the water is absorbed. Okay, so it's been about 25 minutes. Time to check on the enchiladas here. And that looks about perfect. Nice and melty, little bubbling going on. So now we'll just pop it back in here for a little bit and crank up the oven to 450. Get a little browning on that cheese.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
So I kind of forgot about the enchiladas for a minute here while I was finishing the rice and the beans up, getting them out. So it's a little darker than I would like, but it's not bad. So here's the meal, set out here kind of buffet style. That's the way we like to do it. Got our toppings over here. So we got the beans, a little bit of cheese and cilantro on top, the rice, a little cilantro, and then the enchiladas. And you can see I pulled one out there. So here's my plate with all the toppings on it. Tell me that doesn't look just like a plate you get at a Mexican restaurant.